Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevello.org and today we are going to be getting out there and riding Richard Virenque's 1992 RMO team bike. Not a replica, real deal this one. We met him briefly last year when we did a build video and I did a sportif on this bike and it performed very well, but let's take a close look today at all the details of this bike and frame. Now, the frame itself, 1992 TVT, carbon fibre tubes bonded into aluminium lugs. The bonding on these can be suspect. You do have to check them carefully. You get any strange creaking or noises coming, do check your lug bonding, make sure that they are okay. They don't fail very often, but that's a telltale way of spotting it. Also, we do have the TVT carbon forks, earlier TVTs alley forks, later TVTs carbon forks. Now this one here is as per Virenque would have, equipped with Mavic SSC equipment, apart from, as I mentioned in the build video, the actual front rear derailleurs and changes. The shifters and that on here are Dura Ace 7400 items, 8-speed, just because I really like how Dura Ace shifts on an indexed 8-speed down tube shifter, and I really dislike how the Mavic version works. We saw that because last year we did a ride on a very similar bike, the steel RMO team bike of Dante Rezze, and that was fully equipped originally with Mavic, but I did have to swap the brakes because they didn't work anymore, and the derailleur had to be swapped as well for Campagnolo items, just because it was so bad. It was unrideable. So like this, in this setup, this bike is awesome. We've got the Mavic SUP, Mavic SUPs on the front and rear. They are really cool, and obviously as my default choice, 25mm Velo Flex tubular tires on there, which really kind of give great feedback and make me know what I'm doing on this bike. Now group set wise, I think we have on the back 14 to 26, may even be 28. Woohoo, my knees are loving that. And up front 52-39. So overall really good. It's set up nicely to ride. Early spring, it's quite warm, the sun's kind of trying to come out, so I think it's time to get out there and ride. So today I'm riding in the vineyard-rich Cognac region of France. I've just been past the Courvoisier distillery and there are vines everywhere. Roads are really nice, not too lumpy, really good quality as we would expect, and the bike, yeah, well, that rides really well. I'm always impressed by these early carbon fibre frames. They don't really ride how you would imagine a carbon fibre frame to ride, not in the way a modern bike does. It's like taking a really plush, top of the range steel frame 90s bike and then giving it some extra surge, extra urge, makes you want to really ride hard. Yeah, excellent bikes, really like it. I highly recommend trying one if you ever get a chance. Now this one, being a team bike, an RMO team bike, and being Virenque's, is made from the high modulus HM fibres, which is slightly stiffer than the HR high resistance versions that the normal bikes are. To be fair, I've never really noticed any difference, but then again, I am not a top pro, so I'm not looking at every last minor thing, but overall I'm always impressed by how these TVTs ride. Let's take a quick look at the career of French professional rider Richard Virenque. Now, he turned pro in '91 with RMO, and in 1992 he rode his first Tour de France on this very bike, which is super cool. Now, he was not slated to be on that race, he wasn't on the roster, but an injured rider had to drop out, so he took his place. And then he astounded everyone on his team with a superb performance in the first couple of stages to take the yellow jersey, which he held for a day before he passed it on to a teammate, which was pretty impressive. And then he backed it up by coming second in the Mountains classification, the polka dot jersey. A phenomenal result in his first ever Tour de France. And he went on for a career-defining 7 wins in the polka dot jersey. To this day, hasn't been beaten. Now, during that period, it's fair to say he was not without controversy, mainly because he got caught up directly in the Festina affair. Now, we referred to this in the doping video a few months back, but basically in the Festina affair, 1998 Tour de France, so we skip forward a few years, and Willy Voigt, a masseuse, a seigneur, and helper for the team, got caught at customs with literally a trunk full of doping products, and Festina was his team, and there are many series of footages of Virenque crying, being interviewed, insisting he'd never taken anything, he was a victim. A few years later, he did admit to doping without his knowledge, but hey, it was the height of the EPO rocket fuel era. I think we can all draw our own conclusions as to what he did or didn't know about what he was doing. But putting that to one side, his achievements were pretty impressive. He was often climbing, sometimes out climbing the likes of Pantani, Jimenez, other top climbers of the time. Yeah, his results do back that up. He was a bit of a, yeah, he made some bad choices on the road, it's fair to say. Some of them are well documented. Do look them up if you feel the need. But in general, he was a great French professional rider. Now, I've already mentioned how nice this 92 carbon fibre TVT frame is to ride. Now, what I haven't said, it's a really easy bike to ride really fast. I often mention this little thing about urge and carbon fibre, but this thing really likes to fly. It's a very fast bike. What it really likes, well, it loves descending, but it really likes going uphill. You put it on a 40% incline and it just laps it up. It's a real climbing beauty. I'm not near any alpine coals, but I'm pretty sure it would nail them with ease. I wouldn't, but the bike certainly could. I'm not apologetic at all about putting the Dura Ace shifters and derailleurs on here. It transforms the way this bike rides. They're so good. It's super clicky. It encourages you just to keep on going. The rest of the Mavic kit's great. These brakes work fine. The headset's brilliant. The bottom bracket is superb. The Starfish crank is excellent. Just the other few bits are terrible. It also brings me on to a few comparisons between this 92 RMO team bike and the one we reviewed last year, Dante Rezze's. That was a Columbus EL steel RMO team bike. To be fair, Rezze's bike, that oversized Columbus EL, felt more like a springy aluminium frame than it did a steel bike. And this carbon fibre bike feels more like a plush, fast, top of the range steel bike than it does a carbon fibre bike. But it's at that period where everything's a real melting pot of ideas. The technology is changing, but this bike is fantastic. So, back now. Great, so that was a fine ride, just under 2 hours long. Really lovely to get out there for a nice ride in spring. Now, the Richard Virenques TVT RMO team bike, fantastic to ride. And it does bring to mind some comparisons between that bike and Dante Rezze's 92 Giton steel bike RMO team bike that we rode last year, and I thought it'd be a fascinating comparison. And it is, as I mentioned earlier, the two bikes are very, very different, and it's a surprise to have such a different bike available, both as team bikes on the same team. One, a Carbon Fibre early TVT 92, the other a steel Columbus EL Giton team bike, probably not made by Giton, almost certainly made by Cyfac or someone along those kind of lines, one of the speciality contract builders, but both bikes could not be more different. Now, $1,000,000 question: which one would I choose to ride on a good spirited ride? Gotta be honest, hands down, Virenques TVT. I just prefer the way that it feels. Sure, yes, the gearing is set up better, so it's much more rideable, but yeah, there's just something about it. It feels more like a steel bike than the steel Giton did, and it's got a real speed to it and a pace. The geometry stretches you out nicely, and the bike itself is just great to ride. So in many ways, I can see how Richard Virenque had such a storming year at his first Tour de France in 1992. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. Do like and subscribe for more great bike rides, bike riding videos, builds, and anything that's cool to do with vintage bikes. Thanks a lot.